Okay. God bless you. God bless you. And welcome to another episode of The Spotted Bride with K Level Fort. Today's topic is going to be on the Green Bandit. Subtopic is what do you see? We're talking about our eye and our ear gates. And I'm not going to be before you long. I'm just going to go through a couple of things and then we're going to get on out the way. Trying to I am troubleshooting. I'm using a different program, and I'm not exactly sure uh, if it's working. But anyways, okay. So, all right. So we're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna get started because I'm gonna have to probably get somebody to help me just to make sure that I am maneuvering this thing correctly. Uh, this program that I am in. Let me see if it has it here. Okay, I don't have it there. But it says that it is there. Okay, so it's saying that I am there. Lord have mercy, y'all. This is just something else, ain't it? Technology, I tell you. Okay, so yes, we are talking about the Green Bandit. What do you see? We're talking about our eyes and our ear gate, and the things that we see uh, that have the tendency to affect us. And so, what I'm going to do is that um, have the tendency to affect us. And so, okay, so it's on there. I'm sorry. Okay, Lord have mercy. So, listen, okay, our eyes and our ears, these are two of the most influential gates we carry on our bodies. Um, we all know about our eye gates, our ear gates, what we see, what we smell, what we touch, what we feel. We have senses, and so our eyes and our ears are how we are most influenced. And so these are the two most influential gates we carry on our bodies. This is how we receive and process information. Sometimes it can be a hindrance to the purpose God has for us. And that's if we have allowed it to negatively overtake in any area of our life. Jealousy, envy, and covetousness can draw us into an area of resentment, of bitterness, and insecurity if we are not careful. Some areas we may see these actions occur in are trying to keep up with, that is a term that they use, keep up with the Joneses. Um, you want what they have, you want the house, you want the car, you may want the man or the woman or whatever, coveting. Or then looking at why can't that be me? I want to be that person. I want to do what that person does. I can do that better. So we're looking at what someone else is doing and we're saying, okay, you know what? I can do that. As a matter of fact, I could do it better. They don't deserve to do that. That should be me. So we're allowing our eyes to trip us up and pull us into a trap of coveting and envy and jealousy. The jealousy and envy are attached with the color green. I do not understand why, but I have always heard that growing up. So um, we watch people, and sometimes, depending on where we are in our own lives, we may feel that we are lacking in an area in our own life. Well, I'm not doing enough. I'm not good enough, or I should have that. There are situations where we may be unable to obtain something. We may be unable to obtain it at the rate or in a way or time span that we would like, such as marriage, having children, or having the body image that we would like to have. Um, and these areas are the places that can lead us down the wrong path with our emotions, because we see people get married. We see people carrying children. We see people in good shape, and we may be going through a season of sickness, or or whatever, and so we allow that to affect us. So I wanted to look at a couple of examples, and the first example that I wanted to bring up was Eve, and how she looked at the fruit that was on the tree of knowledge and saw that it was good. She looked at the fruit and she saw that it was good. She had the instruction not to take to eat of it. She already had the instruction. She knew what it was, but she looked at it, and her eyes, because of what she placed her eyes on, her focus on, and she desired it. Genesis 3:6, it says, and when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. So we already know that the fruit was not for her. That tree was the one thing set apart that God said, do not touch. You got everything else in this garden. So this fruit was not to be eaten. But Eve allowed her eye gate what looked good, and then her ear gate the words of what the serpent was speaking to her, to cause her to go against the instructions of God. And so we have to be careful of that. What has God told you is not for you, but you haven't heeded to it? What have you allowed the enemy to speak into your ear to make you go against what you knew already was right? Do you know your limitations when it comes to what yourself can handle seeing or hearing? There are certain things I know my limitations. For example, there are certain shows that I will not watch because I know it may trigger something. It may be too much for my spirit man. And so I choose not to divulge in certain songs. I choose not to divulge in certain music because I know how it can pull me in the wrong direction. Now, everybody has a level. The next person, it may not affect that way. They may be able to watch a lot of violence and shootings and stuff. I have people that I know that love to watch that. What is it? For another 48 hours, or those crime scene movies, Snapped and stuff, where they go through from the beginning to the end of the crime, and they show all the pictures, and they're telling all this graphic stories and stuff like that. See, I won't watch that because it makes me feel a type of way. So I know my limitations, and if it's going to pull me into an area that I don't, that's not good for me, I'm going to leave it alone. So, do you know your limitations when it comes to what yourself can handle seeing or hearing? Do you know them? The people that deal with depression and anxiety, PTSD, those type of things, there are certain things that kind of have the tendency to trigger them. It may trigger an old memory, a bad memory, a sad memory, or it could trigger, good things. But you have to know your limitations in those things. I have how we talk about love. First John chapter 2 verses 15 through 17 talks about love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. And the world passes away, and the lust thereof. But he that does the will of God abides forever. And so I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And we're going to move into the next person that I wanted to bring up, which was Sarah. Sarah in Genesis chapter 16, verses 4 through 6, I believe it is. you have Sarah, who was told that she was going to have a child. And you know the story of Sarah and Abraham. They went all these years and didn't have no child between them, and they was well beyond childbearing years or whatever. Sarah was, anyways. I believe they were coming up on 90, 100 years old or something or another. Excuse me. Whereas Sarah was beyond reproductive age, the reproduction age. And so she had this idea that, you know what, Abraham, go ahead and take my handmaid or my servant or whatever and make her your wife and get some children by her. So she overstepped what the word of the Lord was for her and her husband in her life, and took it into her own hands. Abraham, of course, agreed to it. It says in verse 3, and Sarah, Abraham's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abraham had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife. So Sarah took the handmaid and allowed Abraham to marry her. And then Abraham went in and went in unto her, and they conceived. But it mentions in verse 4 that after Hagar conceived, she was then despised. Sarah began to despise her. It says she saw that she had. It says when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. And Sarah said unto Abraham, my wrong be upon you. In other words, and she's like, I have given you my maid. And when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes. So the Lord judged between me and thee. So and I mixed that up, and so let me correct that. When Hagar got pregnant, she began to despise her mistress, the one who had allowed her to carry this child. Now we don't know why. It doesn't say why, but it just says that it has happened. So Sarah took something into her own hands, and it opened up a can of worms. It opened up a whole another problem. So you've got this jealousy and this competition, going on. And it don't say that, but us as women, we can kind of read between the lines with that. So there was some despising, and despising is detesting. It's I don't want to say hate, but it can lead to hatred. I don't want to look at you. I'm sick of you. You get on my nerves. So this whole setup backfired. It backfired. And I have here as another word for despise is hate. It is hate, contempt, disdain, to look down on, to loathe. And this is something that had just this behavior would go on even after Hagar had the child. There would still be issues between Sarah and Hagar. I mean, it got to the point where Hagar, after it had got so much that she ran away, and God told her to go back. And he was like, I'm going to create a nation out of you too as well. But my main point in bringing this Sarah up was to show how she took a matter into her own hands, and when she did it outside of the will of God, it caused an even bigger mess, because she allowed what she saw to affect her actions. So the next person I want to talk about is Hannah. And we are very familiar with the story of Hannah and how she had an agitator. Hannah, you can find her story in 1 Samuel chapter 1, chapter 1, verses 2 through 10. I'm not going to read that in its entirety. I encourage you to get your Bibles. I'm just going to paraphrase for the sake of time. But Hannah had a desire, and her desire was increased in the fact that God prevented her. She had a tormentor, an agitator, and that agitator was Peninnah. Peninnah was the second wife of I believe his name was Elkanah. Hannah could not have children. Peninnah had several, and every year they would go up to the mountain, go go up to the mountain and do worship unto the Lord. And they would have he would take his two wives and all the children. And Penina would provoke Hannah. She would tease her. She would taunt her. It was like a "I'm better than you" type of air about her. And so what would happen was Hannah began to get into a state of depression. It even goes on to say that she stopped eating. She started crying, and she was provoked sore. In verse 6, it talks about her adversary provoked her sore to make her fret. I'm dreading having to go up here and worship this year because I don't want her picking with me. I don't want her looking at me. I don't want to see them kids, and I ain't got none. Every year after year, I'm coming up here with no child, and here she is with a new child every year. She's just adding, and she's picking. She knows that she has that over me, and so she wept and she did not eat. In verse 7, it says she got provoked to the point that she cried. She was in a state of depression and she did not eat. That's depression. When we're depressed, we do one of two things: we overeat, cry, or we undereat and cry. So she was in a state of depression. And then in verse 10, it talks about she was in bitterness of soul. So it had turned into a bitter thing. This thing had run deep, y'all. And so, but she knew where to go and what to do. And she, at that point of depression, at that point of despair, at that point of bitterness, because she had been battered by what her eyes were seeing and what her ears were hearing. She had been battered with that. And so she turned her face to the Lord. Now, if she's not eating, if she's crying and she's not eating all that, I would even go so far as to say she was in a fasted state. Okay, I'm not, and of course you're depressed and all that stuff, so your body is going to be a certain way anyways, and you're not eating. I'm not adding to the word. I'm giving a situation, a way to look at it. So she was in a fasted state. Then she prayed with her heart, prayed so hard, and to the point that her lips was not even moving. She was praying for. Her lips were moving, but there was no verbal voice. You couldn't comprehend what she was saying, and she was praying with her heart. And so, excuse me, I'm starting to get a little bit hoarse. She prayed unto the Lord, and the priest saw her prayers and then prayed a blessing over her. She got up, washed her face, and she ate. And the Lord heard her prayer and answered her with a son. But in that, not only answering her with a son, also we have to look at because she gave the son back. He opened up her womb and gave her more children even after that. It's a beautiful story. You'll have to read it. First Samuel. I believe I said that right. Yeah, First Samuel chapter 1. Read that about Hannah and the story of how the Lord blessed her when she poured her heart out and she said, "I'll give them back to you. Just let me carry. Let me enjoy. Let me do what women have been created to do, and I will give this child back to you." And she did as she told the Lord, and then the Lord blessed her with more children. So not only did he open up her womb, but he delivered her from her adversary. He delivered her from her state of depression. He delivered her from that hold that what she was seeing and what she was hearing had over her. So there was freedom, there was deliverance, there was a restoration, there was joy. She was healed, not in a physical sense, but in a mental sense as well. And so I think we miss that because we read that passage of scripture and we get stuck on, oh, God blessed her with a child. But that's not all he did. He did more. He healed her from the inside out. And so that was another example of how our eye gate and our ear gates can affect us. And now the last one that I'm going to bring up is Martha. And I'm going to shorten this one. This is found in Luke chapter 10, verses 38 through 42, where Martha was in the house, and she was getting the house prepared, and Mary was there with her, and Jesus and them was coming in, and Martha was in there handling, getting the house together, fixing the meals and doing all the work and make sure everybody is good and comfortable and straight. She's the hostess. She's got everything going. And here's Mary just sitting over here at the feet of Jesus. She's just all up in Jesus and just spending the time gleaning from him. And Martha got mad. She got a little upset. She was she was focused on serving. Then she like, I'm doing all this work. Why she ain't in here helping me? And she told him she told God, Jesus in verse 40, she said, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Bid her, therefore, that she help me. Make her get up from your feet and come over and help me. And Jesus answered and said unto her, Martha, thou art careful and troubled about many things, but one thing is needful. And Mary has chosen that good part, which shall not be taken away from her. So this one thing is needful. I'm needful. Jesus said, I'm needful. You can clean this house up later. I ain't gonna be here in a few more days. So many words. So she'd allowed what she was saying, and maybe there was some discussion, and maybe Mary was over there just worshiping him and giving him all this time and all this stuff. And she was, so she was hearing what Mary was saying to Jesus, or Jesus was saying to her, and she got a little jealous or whatever. And so Jesus had to set her straight. Girl, look, you careful about a lot of things. You taking care of the house, you handling your business, but what's necessary? What's the necessary thing? What's the priority here? Change your focus. Is what he was basically saying to her. You need to shift your focus, baby, because your eyes is your eyes is showing you the wrong thing. You're looking at the wrong thing, and you're looking at it the wrong way. So choose the things that are needful. Not everything is specifically for you. Get your eyes on the right thing. Doing too much can frustrate and exhaust you. Sit still. Excuse me, I'm getting ready to wrap this up, y'all. I'm about at the end. Jealousy can be referred to as envy and leads to frustration, anger, resentment, and bitterness. It can result in all kinds of things in our lives that we would be better off without. It's a complicated emotion. It's an emotion you may experience when you feel like someone else is taking something or someone that is yours. It can also be based off of success or things that people have. And I mentioned that at the beginning of this broadcast. So we want to try and work on those things, the eye gate and the ear gate, what we see, and so that it doesn't get into a state of coveting and a state of bitterness and a state of trying to keep up, and because we're gonna find ourselves in a hole, in a deep hole, trying to keep up and buy this, or let me buy this so I can look just as good, and or whatever. Okay, let me see. So there are ways of handling jealousy that does not involve taking your anger or pain out on anyone else. And the main thing of that is find the origin of where the feeling is coming from. What is it? You're jealous because you can't have children? Okay, you you've got to face that situation head on for what it is. If you can't, just take that thing to the Lord and ask him to give you comfort in that. Answer you either way, whether it's okay, yes, you'll have children, or you got to go another route. Change your mindset from what you're lacking. Don't I lack this? I don't have this. Instead of looking at what you don't have, look at what you do have. Look at your abundance, the many blessings that you do have. Okay, you may not have 10 kids, but you have two. Okay, or you may not have all boys. You may have all girls, but you have children. The next person may not be able to have children and would love to have all girls. Um, Spend time with people who love you, and that celebrate you, that appreciate you. Okay, um, not just those that tolerate you, or just looking for a handout or something that they can get from you, and then they go on their way. And look at all the positive in your life. Focus on the things that give you meaning. Journal, write down your feelings, process them. Okay. And a thing with journaling is we write stuff down, and when you write stuff down, you get to a point where you can see your progress and how you've grown or overcome something. And don't compare yourself. Stop comparing yourself to the next person. I think that's enough. I think I'm going to stop there. Uh, oh, well, let me say this and then I'm going to end, okay? Because I've been on here just about long enough and I don't even know how long this is going to allow. So I hope it doesn't cut off. Be thankful for where you are right now in this life. Learn to celebrate the blessings of others. Pray for the things that you desire to have for yourself, not the things that belong to someone else. Be positive. Recognize the jealousy or the envy when it springs up and put it in its place. You've got to get that thing head on first as soon as it comes up, deal with it. And remember who you are in Christ, okay? God desires for us all to prosper and be in good health as our soul prospers. And so knowing that he won't withhold anything good from those of us that walk upright before him, okay? God loves us, okay? So that is all that I'm going to talk about today. I hope that this has been a blessing to someone. I'd like to thank you for joining in and listening to this broadcast today. I invite you to like and share. Also, subscribe. We are on YouTube. We also are on Podbean with a few things. And we also have a Facebook page. And you can type in The Spotted Bride for all of this information. And I hope that you all will have a blessed day. And until the next time, this is K Level Fort, your host. And I pray grace, peace, and blessings unto you all. God bless you.